Alright, it's time for another deck tech video. It's been too long since my last one. So I currently have 5 original Netrunner decks. This is the runner deck, the clown one that I did in my other one. I think I've got 3 corporation decks and 2 runner decks. So I guess we'll just go down the line. We'll jump into this corporation deck. So I got my top. I'm probably using that as a the placeholder, corporation card or whatever. So it's like 3 BBS Whispering Campaign. I usually try to shoot for like 9 to 12 economy cards. I usually go a little bit heavier on the econ with the corporation just because I feel like I'm always just needing economy cards. I guess that's just the name of the game with Netrunner. I'm also running 4 experimental AI. The idea of this deck is also a similar deck that I played in the Fantasy Flight era Netrunner, which is you try and trash at least one program and then lock them out behind whatever they can't. So if you hit their code gate breaker, then you try and lock them out and score behind a code gate. That's the generic idea. So, advanceable traps. After you hit a certain level of play in Netrunner, you can learn how to play around advanceable traps. But I've always thought they're fun, and especially these days, I'm just playing casually and with a lot of people who haven't played before. And advanceable traps are always fun when you can get them to pop off. I'm also running 4 setup, so it just does 2 net damage. So when the runner accesses setup, do 2 net damage. Even if it's not installed, but you ignore it if it's accessed from archives. So it's kind of like, I like to compare it to Shock, but I think Shock in FFG Netrunner does hit from the archives, but it's just a little 2 net damage ping. Again, just trying to bait them with a trap. So this is a little bit of like a net damage, just try and ping damage out. Again, because these are like decks I teach people with, I don't think I'm like really trying to go for a flatline victory, but if it happens, it happens. So that's those ones. Those are kind of like some of my tricks. Looks like we'll dive some more into the economy package. I'm running 3 accounts receivable. Again, I could run more. You're not bound by any limitations in original Netrunner, but I'm just trying to keep it, not too crazy. Like technically, I'd probably just run, if I was trying to be competitive, run 6 accounts receivable. Like it's better. But this is also efficiency experts. Nice. I think the FFG analog would be like Beanstalk royalties, the Wayland card. Just a quick little, you don't have any money or you're low on funds, grab 3 bits. Pretty nice. So there's 9 of my econ package. I'm going to shift and set aside my agenda suite. We'll do that in a minute. And then my ice package as well. It's separate. Okay. All right, so it actually looks like I'm a little lighter on econ this deck. I am running Silver Lining Recovery Protocol. I do believe that's rare. It just says if any agendas were stolen during the runner's last turn, you gain bits equal to 3 times the number of advancement counters those agendas had. So like your typical thing, I install advance, so it's got 2 advancement tokens. The runner goes and steals it. I would get 2 times 3 bits. So oops, sorry, I bumped my table there. So just kind of like some counterplay, get your investment back kind of thing. So I am a little bit light on econ. Again, because these are kind of like novice decks, like I tend to not shy away from clicking for card draw or clicking for credits. I know that that's not like super high level play of Netrunner, but I find it's fine to do in casual or teaching games. So we'll go over to my agenda suite here. Running 3 security net optimization. Choose a fort, so choose a server data fort. When you score it and give that fort all the ice on it +1 strength. So this can be really nice, especially if they have if they've really got their breakers fixed or figured out, you can optimize the ice in your fort. It's not the best 5-2 agenda ever, or 5-3 agenda ever, but it's nice, especially if you just stack it all on one fort. And that's what this deck is going to try to do. It's going to try and build a little scoring remote and then knock out your one breaker to create scoring windows. That's kind of the goal of it. So here's those three. Then we'll jump over into one of my favorite agendas of original Netrunner is Security Purge. It's 3-2, so the stats on it could be 3-2s are always good. So it could be blank and still be pretty good, but show the top 3 cards of R&D to the runner when you score it. If any of those cards are ice, install and res them at no cost, and then trash the rest of those cards. So this kind of can act like, if you have enough ice and you hit it right, that can be like a pseudo economy card, especially if you hit some big ice. And I always like things that kind of show your opponent what you're doing. It's, I guess, I don't know what you call it in like game design terms, but there's a game called Apocalypse World. It's a tabletop role-playing game, and one of the principles of that game is the GM is to quote unquote announce future badness. So I love games that do that like, hey, guess what? Something bad is on the horizon, and then what are you going to do about it? And then you have time to respond. I've always thought that's a cool design feature of any game. So I like security. I like games that reveal things like that. Then I've got 2 Marine Arcology. Okay, so these are just straight up economy cards too. So these would probably be included in my economy package. So I had 9 economy cards plus I always count these. The FFG Netrunner analog would be Helahan's Arcology. The difference being I think Helahan's is only 1 agenda point. So a 3-2, awesome stats, and then double click for 3 bits is awesome. Yeah, very good deal there. It's you're burning clicks, but I always liked that agenda in FFG Netrunner, and I felt like it always ends up generating economy quickly. Then I'm running 2 Data Fort Reclamation. These are 4-2s, not the worst stats. Gain 10 bits and choose up to 4 cards stored in HQ. When you score Data Fort Reclamation, create a new Data Fort using the cards chosen. Install all the cards one at a time. You can then res them when you install them, then return any to the bank any of the 10 bits that weren't spent. So again, kind of an econ agenda too. So you do have to, the big downside here is you have to make a new fort. So late game, this wouldn't be as good, but early to mid game, if you can score a Data Fort Reclamation, it does require you to kind of map out your HQ and keep ice in HQ, but that's not really a problem because having ice in HQ is always a nice thing. The runner can't steal or trash or interact with normally. So keeping ice in HQ is not the worst thing, unless you need to have that ice installed. And then my last agenda here, I also believe is a rare. Security Purge is a rare. AI Chief Financial Officer. So it's 5-2. It's not very great stats, but it does have a cool ability. You can click it once, shuffle cards stored in HQ and archives into R&D, and then drive 5 cards. So a very powerful effect to just recur your discard pile and then completely get a new hand of cards. Especially Netrunner is playing as the corporation. Having stuff in your archives can really be a problem, especially if you accidentally trash an agenda or something. So any ability to get your archives stashed away back in R&D is always awesome. So I'm just running one of those for some like recursion there. So there's the agenda suite, and I think it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 18, 21 points worth of agendas, it looks like. All right, and then the ice suite. So I'm running 2 Nerve Labyrinth, it's a code gate, 2 net damage, end the run. Probably see a lot of end the run stuff here. Laser Wire, strength 2, doing 1 net damage, end the run, very similar. Interesting to see net damage on a wall. So very similar here, just you got a code gate and a wall, but slap some nip damage on and try to end the run. Quandary, I think there was also a FFG Netrunner called Quandary. I think it was a 0 like 0 res, 0 strength. Could be wrong about that, but am I just running one of those Quandaries? I think I am. Yeah, just a little gear check piece there, code gate. Make sure they have their code gate breaker. Shotgun wire, 2 net damage, and the run. Very expensive, but it does have a pretty high strength there. Some wall of static, classic, 3 to res, 2 strength, wall, and the run. Love the art. Wall of static, so good. I mean, all this art's awesome, but that wall of static is very cool. Haunting Inquisition. 8 to res, but 6 strength. It's a code gate, and it says the runner can't make a run during his or her next 6 actions. So this actually takes over their turn into the next turn, really burns a lot. They're lost in that labyrinth looking for the way out. So they just can't initiate another run. Kind of similar to Excalibur and FFG Netrunner, where just, if you can't break that subroutine, they're not doing any more runs, but, Excalibur is only went for the end of the turn. I also really like that it's got an end the run on it. You'll see a lot of end the run ice here. That's the whole point of this deck. Knock out your icebreaker and then lock you out to try and get a scoring window before you can recur your breaker. Got a reinforced wall, just a big old wall, 2 end the run subroutines. So only 4 strength though, kind of a bummer. Endless Corridors is awesome. 2 subroutines and the run. Gear checky, but additional subroutines. Just trying to mix up the cost that the runner might have to pay with their icebreakers. There's one I really like too, Cortical Scanner. Similar, just a little more expensive for an additional subroutine and 1 more strength. So you're paying 3 more bits, but you are getting 1 more strength and 1 more subroutine. So I always really liked that ominous looking art. Love Cortical Scanner. Triggerman, it's a sentry. Trash a program. Again, you're seeing that theme of trying to hit your program and then end the run. Only strength 3, so not too difficult to get through that thing. But again, if you can time it just right and knock out the breaker that they need and keep them out. And then it's got that end the run plugged on the back there, which is always nice. All right, Homewrecker, awesome. This is like so great. It's black ice, trace 5. If the trace is successful, end the run, trash a piece of hardware, and do 2 meat damage. This meat damage cannot be prevented, so your meat damage prevention won't help you with the Homewrecker. It does have the trace, so you do have to get the trace. But again, remember, in original Netrunner, you don't have the inherent ability to beat traces. If you want to beat traces as a runner, you have to have link cards. You have to have set up to prepare for that. And I really like that design. I do see the merits of the Fantasy Flight game system having it baked in, but I think I said in another video, and I kind of stand behind this, that I like that, if you want a solution to a problem or a potential problem, then you need to pack it into your deck. So I like that. All right, just a few more pieces of ice here. We got filter. Okay, filter. This would be the, I think, what Fantasy Flight Netrunner called Quandary. 0 to res, 0 strength, and the run code gate. Just a little gear check. So nothing special, but if you can use one of your program trashes to hit their decoder, that little 0 ice becomes a real problem, and you can score out behind that thing. So gear checky, inexpensive, great early game ice. Probably why I've got 2 slotted in there. Then we've got Data Darts. This is one of those arts. I love the art on a lot of this game, but I like that one. 3 net damage on this guy, and the runner cannot break any ice subroutines on the next piece of ice encountered during the run. So there was in the original core set of Netrunner, there was a piece of ice that nobody liked called Chum, and it kind of had that, do some damage or something like that. If they, it enhances the next ice. I think Chum enhanced the strength of the next ice, so, but effects like that are, sometimes they're not very good. Because well, I'll just not break that, and then I'll beat the other ice so that negate the effect of this one. If I break all the subroutines on the next piece of ice. But this one's cool because it's saying they have to break this one or they can't break the next one. So, and then 3 net damage. Those are 2 subroutines you definitely don't want to have fire. So yeah, Data Dart's awesome. Not too bad for 5 bits too. And my last ice is Pocket Virtual Reality, which sounds like it'd be like the name of a code gate, but it's a sentry, I guess. Trace strength 6 or trace limit is 6. If the trace is successful, give the runner a tag. So try and tag them. And then another trace trace limit 6. If this trace is successful, give the runner a tag. Whenever Pocket Virtual Reality is encountered again, gain 4 bits. Use these bits only to pay for the above traces. Oh, nope, I misread it. Whenever they encounter it, you get 4 bits to spend on these traces. And give a tag. When the encounter ends. Yeah, so it just basically like it's giving you bits to spend on those traces so you don't have to, gamble bits from your bit pool. So that can really mess with you as the runner. I am not sure why I'm running that piece. Is this supposed to be in? Yeah, trying to tag you. Unless there's something that says like blow up a program. I'm not sure why I'm putting that one because I'm not really trying to tag you. I guess having a little bit of incidental tag is nice, just if they put down a resource that you really want to get rid of. So some tagging can be nice, just as kind of incidental, but definitely not a tag focused deck. So yeah, that's this deck. I think it's with all you saw a lot of net damage there. It's kind of like a little bit of a hybrid. You're definitely trying to score out by trashing programs, but it definitely feels kind of like Fantasy Flight Jinteki deck, lots of net damage and some advanceable traps and stuff like that. So definitely some fun stuff to pack along. Nothing too crazy, but should make for some good casual games. All right, thanks.